Hi, I'm John Wilder, historian for the Grand Commandery of Massachusetts and Rhode Island.
And I'm Keith McKinnon. I'm still here in Concord.
Keith and I were discussing some different things we could film today, and we had been amassing, picking up as we come across something that's been an interesting topic of mine to research, as well as Keith's. As you've heard us discuss before, especially in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, back in the day, every commandery wore something a little bit different. They had the opportunity to choose what their uniforms would be, whether that was the gold or silver trim, style of the baldric, style of the aprons, and as we have found in Massachusetts, the rosettes that go on their chapeaus. So Keith and I, in our travels, we try to find different variations. Some of these we have identified, some of them we're still working on. And it's interesting, as you'll note in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, we do have the rosettes on the right-hand side. I have a big head, so this thing isn't going to work quite right, but we put it on this shoulder, as opposed to when I was a Connecticut Knight Templar, and we put it on the other shoulder, hence why the rosette's on the other side. Now, interestingly enough, like I said, some of these are identified. My commandery, Boston Commandery number 2, had nothing on the rosette, just a plain one. So this would be worn by them.
My commandery, Cambridge Commandery number 42, Cambridge, Massachusetts, founded in 1890, merged in 2002, were the typical or common rosette, which is the gold bullion with the red velvet interior that's on the rosette.
But Keith, doesn't gold mean past commander?
No, it doesn't, because as you had just pointed out, a commandery could adopted what the color of the hardware or metallic substance, metallic items are on the various pieces of the outfit, which included the bullion. But most, John, I have seen, but you have one here, is gold, but I have also seen the silver for those who have adopted silver. But the gold would be used on the rosette. It would be used on the jackets for the various office, the commandery, the location. It would be worn on the cuffs, on the sleeves if they had sleeve crosses. That would be in gold. If they still continue with the gold, the belt buckle, the slings, the sling holders would be in gold. If they wore an apron, maybe it would be in gold. The hardware on the sword, the pommel, the hilt or the guard, the sheath, all be brass. But in those days, they would be gold washed. What else would be gold? On the baldric. The baldric, if you had the 9-star or Maltese or a trowel or a dagger, would be in the brass or the gold.
some of these other ones, these two I actually believe I found in the attic here in Concord. They're both Maltese crosses with rhinestones, and I believe they're from the same commandery, just two different versions. I haven't figured out which one yet. I've only recently become historian of the Grand Commandery. My plan is to create a spreadsheet that has a comprehensive list of what every commandery wore within our jurisdiction, so that when we find stuff like this, we know where it came from. Some of the more interesting ones incorporate either a monogram or a specific design. This one here is, and we'll put pictures of these, this is the triangle with rhinestones and the crossed swords, and inside is a P and C for, this was Palestine Commandery, which is now merged into Beauseant Palestine Commandery. I have another version of this without the monogram on the inside that I was told was also from Palestine. This has a JWC for Joseph Warren Commandery. Now this, I can only assume, is an old Grand Commandery one with the Maltese cross. You have one that you've found from...
Yeah, and I wanted to talk real quick about, I know you're going to have a ton of research to do now with this, because you go into, like here, you got 4 commanderies and stuff is just everywhere. But I just want to point out sort of a funny story. And again, going back to research has to be done if you want to collect chapeaus and anything, basically. You need to do some research, because when I took over as curator at the Chemex Masonic Temple was about 1987. I was knighted in 1988. And the commander then gave me the free hand to go through the armory. And like you had mentioned before, commanderies get stuff from all over. People leaving behind or whatever, merge. And I came across this chapeau and I'm like, oh, again, not stupid, but uninformed. And this is where research came in, because after years of going to other commanderies, reading and whatnot, I finally understood what this meant. And I came across this chapeau with the initials GC. I'm like, GC, oh, that's for the Captain General. And I'm like, oh, cool, he had his own hat. But I'm thinking, wow, small head, it's only 6 3/4. What if a guy had a bigger head? What happened? It wasn't come to find out that it's Gethsemane Commandery, number 35 of Newtonville, Massachusetts. They had the initials.
Very similarly, I had this chapeau, and separately, I was talking with somebody from Beauseant Palestine Commandery, who was their commander at the time, and he was sporting a very, actually I think he was maybe the Captain General at the time. He was sporting a very similar chapeau, and I said, "Oh, nice, you know," and he said, "Yeah, you know, I found it. It was for the Beauseant bearer." I'm like, no, that was your commandery's rosette with the enameled Beauseant on it. So he was very pleased to find that out. That's one of my favorite ones, just because of the enameling on it. I think was really well done.
Yeah.
I've seen St. John's No. 1 in Rhode Island has a silver cross on one side, and on the other side has a, I believe, 9-pointed silver star, which is, I need to research more into that. There's definitely been some other ones out there that to do some more research on and to collect for our archives. We have some ones that are a little more common from commanderies in other jurisdictions. They may be from ours. I found these loose, so I'm not sure. We have the silver cross with the maroon velvet inside. Then there's one with the passion rays on the outside. Now, what do you think, Keith? Would this have been...
But John, gold is supposed to be for a past commander.
Well, that's honestly my question for you, because I never really looked into this one. Do you think this would have been...
That is a past commander's emblem.
For a silver trim commander?
Yes.
And then a past commanders with the rays for a gold trim, and then I'll let you speak about this one because you're the one that found it.
And also, real quick, of course, I've been around longer than John has, and I've been into a lot of other commands. I've seen them with the triangles. I've seen them with the triangles with the, my favorite is the rhinestones. I've seen the crosses with the rhinestones. Some of the earlier ones and harder to find ones, two of them. The rosette with the cross, but the cross is in silver. And there's another one out there, the cross is in silver, and the middle is a piece of red leather. Those are really hard. I have one I've seen. Those are really hard to find. And those probably date back to pre-1880s. But they're out there. I did a piece on this real quick for the Facebook page, Kyle Hearn's Masonic Antiques and Collectibles, about some of these different rosettes and the crosses. This is an item that our brethren up in, well, I won't mention what town because we haven't taped there yet, but Palestine Commandery was kind enough to loan this to us. This was, I think, on a table, John, up there in the old armory. I'm not too sure now where I found this.
Amongst the many piles of stuff they had up there. Well, but organized piles.
It's very unusual. It is for a past commander. It's been beautifully done with the rays because they used the really fine wire for that. But inside the Red Passion Cross are 12 small green stones. Something you don't really see all that often. Now, don't know if the green has any significance to do with the connection to the illustrious Order of the Red Cross, or the green has something to do with the uniform of that particular commandery. Do not know, because unfortunately, they also had another commandery merge with them. So we don't know what commandery this came from, but they're very interesting pieces. And most of the time, I believe, John, the rosettes themselves, either done by hand, but machine hand, but are all done in silk, I believe, black silk.
A lot of the time, because when we were going through these, I had these all in a bag, and Keith said, "Oh, I like the square and compass one." I said, "Well, unfortunately, it's not a rosette. It's from one of the baldricks because I was repairing some baldricks and had some extra pieces because they do tend to fall apart, and sometimes you even just find the medallions from the center. I found that some of them, I don't like. Well, this one has a velvet center. Well, even these cross ones have the velvet center and then the silk rosettes on the outside. And even we were just talking before we started filming. Some of these, and I've actually seen these on the shoulder strap epaulets as well. You'll see an alternating pattern in the bullion. And what that appears to be is a coarse winding alternated with a fine winding, because bullion thread is basically a sturdy piece of thread with a very, very fine metal wire spiraled around it, and then they'll attach that through. So depending on how you wind it, you can get different patterns. So I've seen that like that. I've seen that on older shrine fezzes. Unfortunately, most of these, as you will know, they just are tarnished over the years because they were real metals. Usually they're brass or silver. So sometimes you'll find something that's been in storage for a long time and it still has a little bit of glistening to it.
Like this past command,
that
still
one,
has, especially on the rays.
has on the rays. This one I think is more recent, just from how it's manufactured. So it's probably a non-tarnishing metal, but it is always nice to catch a glimpse of what they would have looked like in person. So, but we're definitely on the lookout for different ones. We'd be interested to hear if within your jurisdiction, I think it's Illinois has just the plain red velvet cross. I've seen that a number of times.
And I think Texas, because they have Pacific regulations, especially when it comes to the sword. I think their chapeau is only a certain emblem that's on the rosette, but I'm not exactly sure.
And I know we've talked about chapeaus before, but just out of coincidence, These are all black plume chapeaus. Some commanderies in Massacre Island wore white. A lot wear white nowadays. Not to get too deep into the conversation on chapeaus, but to dispel a rumor, because I've been told, oh, well, black meant it was a mounted commandery, so you guys were on horseback. Or black was only limited to the first 12 commanderies in a jurisdiction. Or this meant that. It was completely up to the commandery.
Yes.
And this I know for a fact because I have found in the records, two of the commanderies that merged with Boston. I can use as an example where William Parkman, which was an earlier commandery, had a white plume, and then Winthrop, when they started, said, their minutes literally say, we have decided that our uniform will be exactly the same as William Parkman's, but we will wear black plumes instead of white. So it's completely up to the commandery. You can usually find that in your bylaws or in your early minutes. So it's definitely worth looking up to see what your uniform was. Nowadays, between the standardization and if your jurisdiction didn't, I won't say fight, but didn't urge to keep their traditions from before standardization. Also, as we found with the closing of many local regalia companies that specialized in this sort of thing, you just have a couple of regalia companies that offer just a few smaller varieties. So a lot of this stuff isn't available anymore.
Right.
So it's a lot of that has gone to the wayside.
Just to add to they're called plumes, feathers, ostrich. Originally, ostrich feathers were originally used. I don't know what the synthetic item is today. A lot of them opted for the black. That was for the certain night, but not always. Because my commandery, Cambridge number 42, we consider ourselves all black. What I mean by that is that everything on the uniform was black, even for a past commander. So he didn't have white. He had black plumes.
That's the same in Boston. The Boston past commanders wear black plumes.
I've seen in some of the triennial photographs of the past, commanderies marching down streets with all white plumes on. And then there's the skunk, the black and white. And then there's the plumeless commanderies out there that were some of them mounted. And some of the mounted ones did have plumes, like Beauseant was a mounted commandery at one time.
St. Bernard, in our jurisdiction, they do not wear plumes, and I do have a picture of them on horseback. So it's interesting. Some of my fellow Sir Knights in Boston Commandery claimed that we were a mounted commandery. We were not. I have been through all 200 plus years of our minute books. I have no record of us ever being a mounted commandery. So stop spreading those lies.
So hopefully this maybe has helped someone out there who has found some stuff or will find some stuff in their buildings and their armories. Stuff like this, John, as you know, is in these buildings just sitting there to be founded. And it can be very confusing, especially like here, where you had 4 commanderies emerge into one that you just have a ton of. And then you got guys who came from Cambridge who, I left my chapeau in Concord. I'll be back someday, but he dies. Or
the family turns it in.
Family turns it in, not knowing that, hey, this came from Cambridge, but we live in Concord. Or, this guy here came from Newtonville, but moved out to Concord. He still got his, why get rid of his thing? Just wear it to the commandery.
This one from Beauseant, which was originally in Malden, I got it at the shrine. Someone had turned in the entire suitcase that had the baldric and the apron, and then it had the name on the side. So, and I think the gauntlets and the sword belt. So I know that those were Beauseant Commandery, what they wore.
So stuff travels. Stuff does travel and gets mixed up. So it is kind of hard. And I think your research on that will greatly help someone. I know you and me, but hopefully someone down the road, years to come, when they find more of this stuff.
Yeah, and fortunately, a lot of this was written down. It's just finding out where. But then again, the old failsafe, go into the photos. Photo evidence. Sometimes you need to really be careful what you're looking at, because I know like triennial photos, they might have a division guard who was helping out with the parade. Oh yeah, come in our group photo. So you have this one guy on the end who's dressed a little bit differently, and you got to like figure out why is he in there. I've seen the same thing with the shrine. So always be careful, but just try to gather as much evidence as you can.
And they had special uniforms, some of these groups,
Yep.
too, which can totally throw you off, like the all-white commandery, I think, from Illinois, I think, in the 1895 Triennial Conclave that did not use swords, but umbrellas. And they're dressed in all white. Very unusual. So, yeah, these things are out there. Just got to find them. And
Then figure out what the heck they are. So with that, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you.